Hello, I'm DV, and welcome back to another episode of Ironsworn Playing God Apothecary with Child Dog, the Lightbearer of Velmark. Last episode, we saved our grandparents from a dark mystic husk who had been sent back from episode 4, I think, to kill our grandparents. And we found out that Mel, who was a dark mystic that we befriended and forged a bond with, told us a lie and said that Keone and Childetta were going to arrest our grandparents. We don't know if he was telling a lie or if he was misinformed. We just don't know. But I do know that I was doing my bonds wrong. I was doing my bonds more like they do bonds in Starforged instead of in Ironsworn, which Starforged, if you don't know, is Ironsworn but in space. And so with that one, you have a progress track for each individual bond, but in Ironsworn, you only have one progress track for all of your bonds. And as you gain bonds, you make progress in that track. So I reworked my tracks here so that I have my grandparents, Velmark, Axcrag, Keone, and Mel. So I have 5 out of my 10 bonds. Once you get 10 bonds, I presume you could add another bond track and keep building bonds, because your bonds not only give you benefits on your rolls, but when you get ready to finish your campaign, you can write your epilogue and then you roll against your bonds, and it determines on what your life is like when you retire from adventuring. So we're not going to do that today. We're going to do a couple things. I would like to test my bond with Mel, because I feel like I was betrayed by him, but I don't know if that's true or not. So this may, when we do this test our bond, it may require us to go on a trip to see Mel. And so I'm not quite ready to do that just yet. I'm not going to take that move just yet. But that will probably be our next vow that we do, depending on how that bond comes about. But first, I think we need to get ourselves healed up and things. So we're still in Velmark. We have just sojourned here, and we were able to get some things done here that will help us. But we are going to roll to heal ourselves here with our herbal remedies. So we're going to use our asset for herbal remedies here, which means we can add +2 to our roll. That's what we will do, and we'll get a +1. No, we'll just add +2. We add +2 to our roll, and we get a +1 for being in Velmark, so that gives us up to a +3. We're going to heal using, when you treat an injury or ailment, roll wits. If you're mending your own wounds, roll wits or iron, whichever is lower. Our iron and wits are both 3, so it doesn't matter. So we're going to go ahead and roll for our healing. We rolled a 7 versus a 6 and a 5. That's a strong hit. Our care is helpful. We can take up to 2 health. That will put us up to 4. Fantastic. We're also going to resupply, and we're going to, I think, you know what? Instead of resupplying, let's do a compel move. Let's do a little barter with the people here in town, because I feel like it would make sense for us to go and forage when we can just go into town and do some bartering, right? So let's just do heart to barter, and we get to add +1 because we share a bond with Velmark. We're going to try to barter for some supplies and see if we get some supply here. So we'll say it will give us the same amount as if we did the resupply, which is, let's see, let's roll just to see, a +2 for a weak hit, and a strong hit would be +2 supply. Okay, so we can either we'll basically use those same rules, but we'll do it with the compel move. So we're going to do the compel, and we're going to use heart +1. Oh my god, we miss. We try to barter for some supplies, but they refuse or make a demand which costs you greatly. Pay the price. Okay, let's take a look and see what's on the pay the price roll. We might see if they need our help to do like a very, very short quest. But we're also going to learn from our mistakes because we got another failure here. So we're going to add we're going to add a 3 there. Let's see what the Oracle has to say. I'm not going to use the Oracle in the game. I'm going to use this. I have some expanded Oracles here. And let's look and see what the pay the price tables have for us here on. Here's pay the price. Let's see what they have here. Okay. Person or community trusted loses faith in you or acts against you. Okay. I like this one. You are made to look the fool. All right, so maybe we are bartering with the shopkeeper, and they agree to give us some supply, but unbeknownst to us, it was at a cost much greater than anticipated or expected, and some of the villagers out and about are kind of snickering at how they kind of made a fool of me. So I do get my plus, I'll give myself +1 supply on that, but I'm going to lose 1 momentum on that because of, well, I think it doesn't make sense for us to gain a supply on a miss. So I'm just going to lose 1 momentum because I was made a fool of, and I kind of have to slink away in embarrassment. All right, so we can't do that. So I guess we will go out, and our feelings are hurt, so we're just going to go out into the woods and see if we can gather our own supplies without any help from anyone. So we're just going to roll there. We get a 9 versus an 8 and a 4. That's a strong hit. That tells us that we should just rely on ourselves from now on. Just kidding. But yeah, let's see what we can do now for ourselves. We are here in Velmark, and listen to what I would like to do this episode. This is not going to be an exciting going on adventures episode. What is this going to be? We are working on this extreme quest that we've had here to instill myself as leadership in the Children of the Light. Okay? I want to make progress in this quest. And how am I going to do that? I had discovered a couple of different supplements for Ironsworn. One is called Building a Community Through Moves, which is really cool. And then the other one is called Rain, which is also cool. These are both supplements that can be found relatively cheaply, and they are both really cool. This one, Rain, is, I think we will use it when we become leader of Velmark, or if we become leader of Velmark. This is more about being a leader and less about becoming a leader. And so we're not going to use this just yet. But I am going to roll here about the founding history of Velmark, because we don't know what is the founding history of Velmark. We don't know. Why is it here? Why is Velmark here? Let's roll on that just right quick and see what we get. We got a 58. So let's see why Velmark is here. 58. It was a sheltered place that the settlers found against the weather. Okay. So that's interesting. I'm going to go ahead and write that in the bio so that I'll know Velmark was founded as shelter for early settlers. All right, so now we're going to move on over to the other supplement, Building a Community Through Moves. Now, this is really cool. So what you do is you create a progress track called Gain Leadership Favor. And it has to be with a community that you have a bond with, which I do. And every time we do something to help the community as a whole, we get to add progress to our leadership favor track. And once we achieve this track, then we can use the established leadership move against this track, and we can now be viewed as a leader in the community. That's pretty neat. And in addition, they have some moves here that we can do in order to make progress in that leadership favor track. So that's really cool. I think we're going to spend the next little bit of time doing this, doing this quest, so to speak, of gaining leadership favor. And that once we do that, we can mark progress in our instill of ourselves as a leadership. Because once we're a leader here in Valemark, then we begin to send our influence to neighboring towns, and we can interact with Child Edda once again at Axcrag. And, you know, there may be some instances with the leadership from Axcrag coming and interfering with our progress. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to make a vow here. And this is going to be a formidable vow, because I think that the village of Valemark is around 51 to 100 residents, and we'll get 1 progress per successful task. So what we're going to do is we're going to make that formidable, and we are going to gain leadership in Valemark. Okay, so the first thing that you can do to gain leadership in Valemark is you can have a successful sojourn here. And I think that I'm going to say that the sojourn that we did from after we defeated the Husk, that's our first step in getting leadership favor here. After that successful battle and everyone, you know, witnessing my prowess in battle. That sounds very conceited. We are able to gain 1 leadership favor just from that one. So I was trying to find it here somewhere. It is in here. All right. By completing a successful sojourn move on a hit, mark progress on the track in place of one of the other usual. Oh, okay. Sorry. I have to do another sojourn later, and I can only do it on the first successful one. So I can't do sojourn, but so we'll have to do that some other time. We'll do a sojourn move, and we won't be able to take any of the benefits of the sojourn, but instead we'll mark progress on our leadership favor thing. All right, so we've got this task to gain leadership favor. What are some of the things we can do to gain favor? We can engage with the council. So we can go before the council of elders. That would be like Keon and some of the other children. And we can do a test of diplomacy, negotiation, and persuasion. And if my views are received favorably, we can choose 2 benefits from the list below, including, you guessed it, gain leadership favor. Okay, so I think that's the first thing that we're going to do. And I'm going to go before the council and say that we need to build up some defenses with all these dark mystics that are about. And we're going to see if we can engage with the council of elders and convince them that we need to build up some defenses. And so I feel like this is probably going to be a successful one. I hope. We're going to add +1 to our roll. So we're going to go before the elders and try to convince them to build up our defenses. So we're going to go on a manual roll of heart. Here we go. I'm going to roll it. We got a 6 versus a 2 and a 5. That's a strong hit. Fantastic. So that means on a strong hit, my voice resonates with the council. Your views are received favorably. Choose 2 benefits from the list below. Okay, so we can gain support. They agree to support our quest or cause. This might translate into additional resources, information, or manpower. Okay. I can challenge their authority. Wow. Okay. You successfully challenge a rule, custom, or decision leading to changes that favor your character or quest. Wow. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's perfect. I think I'm going to gain leadership favor first of all. They acknowledge my contribution or potential. And I could go ahead and challenge authority, but I think we're not quite ready for that yet. Instead, I'm going to do a gain support. And we are going to start building up our defenses for the village. So we're going to gain leadership favor, first of all. And let me refresh this. so that we have our leadership track here. There it is. We're going to gain 1 favor there. And we are going to, what was the other thing that we gained? We gained support for our cause. All right. So that's going to give me, I think, a +1 on my next roll, which would be participate in training. So we're going to train up the local militia. We're going to roll iron or edge. So we're going to do edge because we're best with that. But I'm going to get a +1, not only from having a bond here, but I'm also going to get a +1 from gaining the support of the council. So we're going to get a +2. So we're going to start training up the militia here in the village. So we're going to roll an edge. There we go. We're going to get a +2. And let's roll. We got a 7 versus a 4 and a 6. That's a strong hit. Fantastic. On a strong hit, we're successful and the group as a whole significantly improves. Choose 1 benefit from the list below. So we can forge a bond. Okay, so if we have a particular NPC, we can increase our relation with them and form a bond. Okay. And I can re-roll 1 challenge die. That's interesting. I can gain leadership favor, which we will do. And we could take +1 to settlement iron if we want to start tracking the settlement stuff. Or we can take +1 momentum. But I think I'm going to gain leadership favor. We get to add 1. So I am going to gain leadership favor here. All right, we are making our way along. So we have spent time doing that. That's good. We could do a sacred ceremony, strengthen community ties. We're going to strengthen community ties. And it might lead to a quest. Some of these things may lead to quests, which is fine. So we're going to try to strengthen our community ties. We're really starting to ingrain ourselves into Velmark. So what we're going to do is we are going to strengthen our community ties. We're going to start building up a palisade around this village. Right now it's just, open roads into and out of. This is going to be a considerable effort. So we're going to help build up our palisade with our newly trained militia that we had. And we are going to roll +1 from our bond. And is it heart? What do we roll on it? Okay, so I'm just going to say it's probably iron. It's like a perseverance. So we're just going to say we'll roll iron. Iron's not one of my stronger things, so that's okay. All right, we rolled an 8 versus a 4 and a 7. That's another strong hit. Man, we are just rolling strong hits all over the place. On a strong hit, you've made significant progress in strengthening your ties with the community. You may mark progress on your leadership favor progress track and choose one of these. Enlist community members for a task or a project, or take +1 momentum. I need that +1 momentum because we're really low on momentum. And we gain another leadership. That's fantastic. So far, no additional quests. We're starting to really ingrain ourselves into the community, which is great. Okay. So, I think at this point, we need a quest or something to do to gain leadership favor once again. So we need like some sort of project. So what could the project be that the council requires of us? All right, so we're going to roll on the settlement trouble. And we'll just take our last roll here. We rolled a 4 on the D6 and a 47. So let's just take a look and see what 447 is. Settlement trouble. 447. Oh no, our harvest was lost. Okay, so our harvest here in Velmark was poor. We had a hailstorm and it beat down all of our crops. And so now we need to form up a little caravan to go to Axe Crag and see if we can barter for some food to last us through this next season. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new vow here. And it will say it is what? What kind of, how strong of a vow should this be? Let's just say call it dangerous. This is a dangerous vow. Because we're going to a place that we are aware of, Axe Crag. And we know them there. So We need to barter for goods at Axcrag. So, failed harvest at Velmark. Lead a caravan to trade at Axcrag. Okay. So we're going to head on over to Axcrag. I swear that I will help lead this caravan to Axcrag to help for gathering some food for the season. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we are going to do our move here. Follow a path, because this is a path we've taken before. We're going to follow this path and see how we get on to Axcrag here. So what do we need to roll? Supply. So let's find our supply. We're going to roll against supply. We don't get a bonus. Let's roll against our supply. We get, oh god, 7 versus 7 and 9. That's a miss. Oh my god. I'm going to mark my learn from failures. Oh my gosh. We got a miss. What happens on a miss on a follow a path? You are waylaid by a dire threat and you must pay the price. If you overcome this obstacle, you push on safely to your destination. Okay. So what do we encounter that it waylays us on our journey to Axcrag? It could be a number of things. Let's see what it says. Roll twice. Malignant plague and zealous cult. Okay. Interesting. Malignant plague, zealous cult. Okay, so it sounds like to me that en route to Axcrag, we are waylaid by some diseased cult members. Probably they are followers of the dark, and they performed some sort of dark ritual that unleashed a plague on themselves accidentally because they're incompetent. So what we're going to do is we are going to take some zealots here. They're typically troublesome. They only do 1 harm. We're going to say because they have a plague, they're going to be more dangerous. So I'm going to do that narratively, though. Instead of saying they inflict additional harm, if they, depending on what happens, how can we do this? I was going to say we might say that the plague spreads. How would I mechanically do that? I don't know. Let's see how many of these bad boys there are. How many of these bad boys are there? Let's just roll and find out. Let's roll a d6. 2? That's nothing. That's still just troublesome, especially with a whole caravan. So we're going to go ahead and mark up a track here. This is going to be easy peasy. Easy peasy. These guys are going to be, we'll give them a dangerous because there are 2 of them and they do have a plague. So we're going to smack these boys. So they set upon us in an ambush, and before the battle even begins, I'm going to try to talk them down. I'm going to try to compel them to move on their way. I'm going to try to pacify them. Now, they are zealots, so they're less likely. I'm going to give myself a -1 because they're less likely to listen to reason because they're zealots. All right, so we're going to roll, and I think it's going to be a heart, and let's see what happens. I'm going to try to compel them. We got a 4 versus an 8 and a 10, so that's a miss. They refuse or make a demand which costs you greatly. I think that they're going to attack us straight away, which means we don't get to enter the fray. We're just going to get attacked. And so that sucks, but that's how it goes sometimes. So I'm going to go ahead and upgrade my learning from my mistakes. So the price that we pay is that we're going to start off on the defensive. So Doug tries to talk reason into these zealots, and we can see there's little black pustules all over their face and hands from whatever affliction is upon them from this plague. And they basically just have like snarls on their face, like they're almost animalistic in their nature. They kind of separate from each other, and they walk around this caravan. And myself and my friends, let's say there's probably 4 of us with a wagon here that we're taking. They go on each side of us, and then they just rush toward us in battle. And we're going to go ahead and engage battle with them, and we're going to try to secure an advantage using our staff as he moves forward towards us. We're going to use edge. We're going to try to use our long arm to disarm him. What is he armed with? Probably a short sword of some sort, both of them. So I'm going to go ahead and use my long arm ability, and if we go to our long arm, secure an advantage, we get to add +1 and take 1 momentum on a hit. So I get to add +1 and take 1 momentum on a hit. Hopefully I get a hit. I get a 10 versus a 10 and 4. That's a weak hit. So I do get +1 momentum from that. And I also get +1 momentum from my long arm. So I got +2 momentum overall, which is good. So he moves forward, and we try to use our staff to disarm him. He's slowed, but he is not fully disarmed. And so he continues to try to attack us, and we are going to clash against him to try to take him out. So he's moving forward with his short sword. He growls a curse at us, and he starts slashing with his short sword. And we are going to roll +1 with our long arm. That's a 5 versus a 2 and a 2. That's a strong with a positive twist. Nice. We have the initiative, and we get to take +1 momentum +1 momentum from our long arm. So that's +2 momentum. Since it's a positive twist, we're going to go ahead and inflict harm as well. So we'll get benefits of both of those. So that's great. So let's go ahead and refresh that. There we go. And we are going to strike this plague-infested zealot. So we strike him with our staff, and his short sword flies from his hand, and he is now disarmed. What does he do now? What action does he take now that he is disarmed? See, I rolled a 1 and a 2 and a 2, so let's just see what that shows up on the Oracle. 1, table 1, a 2 and a 2, which would be a 22. He reveals a surprising truth. Oh, interesting. He reveals a surprising truth. So oh my gosh, what could that be? Let's roll on the Oracle and find out. We'll do a action and a theme. Now let's do an aspect and a focus. So we'll roll on 122. Marked nature. Oh my gosh. So he opens up his robes, and he's got this massive set of sores on his chest, but it's not random. It's in a pattern of a sigil, and he begins to scrape his claws across this sigil. And as he does so, this mystical energy begins to build as he's scraping these wounds in his flesh, and he's attempting to do some sort of dark ritual. And so we are going to strike. Now that we have the advantage, we have the initiative, we're going to strike and try to stop him from casting whatever this is. So we're going to roll. That is an 8 versus a 3 and 1. That is a strong hit. We get momentum from our long arm, and we inflict 1 harm from that, and we are able to move forward as quickly as we can. We strike out with our staff, and we are able to knock the plague-infested zealot unconscious, and he is down. We turn and we run around to the other side of the wagon, and we see our friends are engaged in battle against the other zealot. We are going to move forward and strike him as well with our long arm, and we get a 7 versus a 9 and a 3. That is a weak hit. So we get +1 momentum from our long arm. We run up and we strike this other zealot with our staff squarely in the back, but unfortunately it doesn't stop him from slashing out and putting our friend on the defensive there. So now we must clash against this final foe. We're going to go ahead and roll clash. We get a 6 versus a 2 and a 6. That's a weak hit. I could burn momentum and get a strong hit. Otherwise, I think I'm going to save my momentum. We got a weak hit. I'm going to go ahead and take that +1 momentum. We get to inflict our harm. But for narrative purposes, I'm going to keep this weak hit. And we're going to pay the price. And our foe has initiative. I'm going to say that he strikes our friend. And our friend takes damage. Is he able to withstand the damage? I'm going to say likely. But no, he does not. He is stricken down by that zealot. He falls to the ground, severely wounded. Now, we must try to step in front of him to stop this zealot from finishing him off. We're going to roll clash one more time. Oh no, and it's a miss! Oh God. No, why? Why, Santa Claus, why? I can burn my momentum and get a weak hit out of it. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to burn my momentum. We get a weak hit. It takes away the 6 die. So now we have, we can inflict our harm, but we now must also pay the price, and our foe has initiative, and our momentum is knocked down to 2. So we're going to go ahead and inflict our harm. And for paying the price, I'm going to say that we have to endure harm here. So he is a troublesome foe. That's only 1 harm. But now we must endure harm here and see what we can do. Let's see. Roll health or iron, whichever is higher. Our health is 3. Our iron is 3, so it doesn't matter. No bonus on that. We got a weak hit. Choose 1. 6 versus 6 and 1. Shake it off. If your health is greater than 0, suffer 1 momentum in exchange for 1 health. Or I can embrace the pain and take +1 momentum. So I can either get my 1 health back in exchange for momentum, or I can... Oh, no, sorry. That's only if we... Oh, that was if we were burning momentum. Sorry. This is just a press on. We just simply press on. Okay. So I took the hit, but we are going to press on. Hopefully that whole thing doesn't come back to bite us. Okay, so we're going to try to secure an advantage here because we need to get our initiative back so we can end this fight. I'm going to secure an advantage. I don't think I get a +1 with my long arm for securing advantage. Yeah, add +1. I do. Great. That's great. All right, so we're going to get to add +1 to secure an advantage. See if I can get back in control of this and disarm this opponent. I do not. My advantage is short-lived. I get to take 1 momentum and take another momentum from my long arm, but we rolled a 7 versus a 4 and a 10. That's a weak hit. That means I'm still on the defensive. So he slashes out with his weapon, and we're able to deflect it, but we still can't get into a position of advantage so we can end the fight. Because I think you have to be... yeah. You have to be in control of the fight when you're doing in the fight. Yeah, I don't want to pay a dire price. We're just going to continue to clash then and see if we can get a strong hit. Oh my God, we're outmatched and we must pay the price. A 7 versus an 8 and 10. That's another miss. Oh my god. This one guy, he's a freaking blade master. He is making us learn from our failures. We pay the price once again, and our foe continues to have initiative. What is the pay the price that we're going to do this time? Something of value is lost or destroyed. Okay. So I'm going to say that he strikes out at us and we parry the blow, but his sword hits my pack and destroys my alchemy creation equipment that I had in there. And so before I can use my alchemy once again, I'm going to have to replace that equipment. I'm going to have to do something to replace that equipment. And I'm also going to give that a mechanical failure of -1 supply as well. Wow, this guy is freaking tough. All right, we're going to continue to clash. We're going to, let's try to secure an advantage again. We're going to see if we can get an upper hand. This is ridiculous. Oh my god, an 8 versus a 9 and an 8. We miss again. You fail or your assumption betray you. Pay the price. Holy cow. This one little simple zealot is all of a sudden giving us a run for our money. What is the pay the price this time? Roll again and apply that result, but make it worse. Oh my god. It's stressful. Alright, so he's a troublesome foe, so it's usually -1, but we'll make it -2 because it was doubly so. And we're going to have to endure stress. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. Oh my gosh. Roll heart or spirit, whichever is higher. It's going to be heart. Oh my gosh. This guy. He's overwhelming us. We got a 3 versus a 1 and a 6. It's a weak hit. We press on. Alright, we're going to continue to clash against this guy. We can't seem to make headway against him. I'm going to go ahead and use my +1 from my stat long arm. We roll another weak hit. That's 8 versus a 10 or 7. We inflict our harm, but pay the price. He continues to have initiative. We gain a momentum from that, but we're going to have to pay the price again. A person or community you care about is exposed to danger. So one of our other companions is up here fighting with us as well, and he presses us back with his attacks, and then he does an amazing riposte, and is that how you pronounce that? He spins and slashes at one of my other companions, so now 2 of my companions are down. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. Why can we not defeat this guy? We've defeated bears and mystics and all these horrible things. I can't use any of my light against, because he's not like a evil entity. He's just a guy. So I feel like it wouldn't make sense to use it in combat like I did against the husk. Oh my gosh, what is happening? Why? Santa Claus, why? Let's see if we can secure an advantage again and try to knock that weapon out of his hands. Oh, we get a +1 plus another +1 from our long arm. We're up to 7 momentum now. That's a 7 versus a 9 and a 5, but it's still a weak hit. We are trying to press our advantage against him and gain the initiative, but we just can't. We can't disarm him. He is a blade master. This guy is a blade master. So we're going to go ahead and clash now with our +1. And we're going to use edge. And we finally get a freaking strong hit. A 10 versus a 3 and a 7. It says 11, but you can't get an 11 in the game. So that's 10 versus a 3 and a 7. That's a strong hit. We inflict our harm and choose 1. We now have the initiative, finally. And we can take 1 momentum and another momentum from our long arm, because we can't do any additional harm. He's already harmed all the way. Now we can finally end the fight and hopefully do this successfully here. So we are going to end the fight against the plague-infested zealot. Here we go. End the fight. 10 versus 6 and 8. That's a strong hit. We are able to finally defeat the foe, and we strike him, and he falls. And we are able to finish both of these zealots. We do not risk taking them captive. We unfortunately must execute them and bury them out in the woods so that their plague does not infect others. And we're going to say that we complete this battle against the zealots. Wow, that was crazy. That was crazy, way more difficult than it should have been. And we're going to go ahead and mark 1 progress on our journey there to Axecrag. And but before we progress further, I'm going to ask the Oracle, do any of us get infected with this plague? 50-50. No. Whew. Thank goodness. All right. So we didn't get infected from the plague. I'm going to go ahead and spend some time making a heal move for our friends. So I don't think they'll make it to the first heal move. I don't think they will make it to the village without help. So we're going to try to heal them. And we're going to use herbs to do so. So I can add +2 on it. You heal a companion, ally, or other character and score a hit. Take 1 spirit or 1 momentum. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and use both of these options. I'm going to say we are going to add +2 to our roll to heal these guys. And if we take a hit, we get +1 spirit and 1 momentum. All right, so we're going to add +2 to this. And we're going to heal using iron or wits, whichever is lower. The iron is the same. So we're going to roll. We get a 7 versus a 6 and a 7. That's a weak hit. We do get to heal them, but we suffer 1 supply or 1 momentum. I'm going to suffer 1 momentum because we have lots of that. Okay. So in addition, I get to gain a spirit and a momentum. So I basically break even on my momentum because on a hit, whether it's a weak hit or a strong hit, I gain spirit or momentum. So I'm able to bind their wounds and use some herbs to help them. And I think that should that give me leadership? Nah. That's too generous. We're not going to give ourselves leadership. Okay. So now that we have completed that, we are going to make our way on into Axecrag, and we will begin to do our bartering and things in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this one. It's a little bit different, but I hope you still enjoyed it. If you did, be sure and hit that like button, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.